This video is brought to you by Grandeur Warranty, your #1 online source for factory-backed extended warranties in the country.
Case, the CA Corvette is getting relatively affordable for the performance. Like 60 to 70 grand will get you a really good one, but some even sold on Cars and Bids for well under $60,000.
And this one we've had for the last 3 months. So in this video, we're going to talk about what the ownership experience is like with an inexpensive C8 Corvette.
What we have here is the gentle, comforting glow of a check engine light. I know, it has just 7,667 miles on it. Luckily though, I've got the diagnostic information here. Quote, an issue has been detected with the exhaust tailpipe flow control system. This system is used to tune and control the exhaust note for the vehicle. So as I interpret that, basically, there's something screwy with the active exhaust. Now here's the good news about all of this. We actually have an extended warranty thanks to Grainger on this used Corvette. So we're gonna take it to the dealership, get it fixed, and then we'll update you as to what it cost us with that Grainger warranty, and hopefully we'll get this car back up and running right.
It's also important we talk about design because a Corvette isn't just about being fast, it's also about looking good while you do it. And the C8 Corvette was of course a big departure from the previous 7 generations of Corvette because it's mid-engine. So there are some differences in the proportions of the car because of that, and I wouldn't say there's any issues to me personally with the proportions of this vehicle, but to some folks' eyes, mine included, it is a little angular, maybe a little too angular.
Well, and I think Mary put it the best off camera. She described it as a little kitschy. I would describe it as a little busy. There's just like a lot of points and vents and louvers and things going on. I will say this one cool thing I've noticed after driving this car around for the last few months is that very few C8s are the same. So there's a lot of different colors and configurations and stripes and wheels and stitching. It's very hard to find two that are the same, but I think we're in agreement. It's not our favorite generation from a look standpoint.
I wouldn't call it the most elegant. That being said, it's not a bad looking car.
So I think it's important to say that really before we owned this car, Case and I were impressed with some of the stats surrounding this mid-engine Corvette and kind of the value for money, but neither of us are really big mid-engine Corvette guys.
That's true. It's not our favorite of all the generations, especially because Tommy and I love classic vehicles. That's why we run the Classic Car channel, the two of us. Mm-hmm. And this is such a big departure from the Corvettes that we're used to, but it's not a departure from it necessarily in a bad way. No,
that's right. It's a very different experience, right? It's much more European supercar-like with that really fast-acting dual speed and that weight behind you, and then that kind of short dash to axle look. So it's not a bad thing, it's just not like the traditional Corvette formula.
It's a very different character, especially I think going back to the C3, the C4, some of the insanely long hoods on those cars where you were sitting right in front of the rear axle. That's a very particular kind of experience. This could not be more different from that.
Having said that, over the past couple months living with it, I think myself more than Case, I've really come to adore what this car represents, because it does perfectly well what Corvette has always done, which has kind of been the unsung hero of the performance car world, right?
It's a supercar killer.
Yeah, so many Europeans look down on these cars and the Porsche guys don't really give them any time of day. But this car, more than any other Corvette, even if it's not the same formula, has done more to elevate the performance envelope for very little money. One advantage of this mid-engine design, which I really didn't think about until we've lived with this car for a few months, is the sheer amount of storage capability that this Corvette offers. So if we check out the front trunk, this is a space that's often forgot about. It's not super long, it is pretty wide, but it's so deep. That is definitely a carry-on space luggage. In fact, we've had carry-ons in the front end of this Corvette. Mary's convinced that it's so deep I could sit in there. Oh, look at that. Oh.
If he fits, he sits.
My broad shoulders prevent me from getting any deeper. Clearly, that's the problem. Issue.
How comfortable is it?
Not great.
At 6 foot.
I'm just here now. Awesome. This is it.
The Mario Kart action.
Guys, this is not too good of a situation.
Luckily, I don't think that's what it was designed for, so we're golden.
And then when you come out back, things are even better. Now, a lot of Corvettes have had pretty decent storage throughout the years, but this car brings it to another level because the trunk back here is also a pretty decent size. Now, one thing worth noting is whatever you put back here is going to be pretty toasty by the end of the drive, because you can see there's no separation in the coupe between the trunk and the engine. So some of that engine heat inevitably ends up back here, but the good news is if you want to keep your Indian food nice and warm, you stick it back here.
So ice cream in the front, Indian food in the rear.
Yeah.
One great thing about every generation of Corvette is removable roofs. There are, of course, convertible versions. This is just the standard model, but even so, we can pretty easily pull this carbon fiber top off, which is not super heavy, and we can stash it here in the trunk. This is TFL. We're not allowed to practice things before we do them.
Give it a little... Oh!
Wow, so my first time doing that, but that's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, and actually my dad runs this top off a lot. The question is though, Case, do you like this system more, or do you like the one-touch hardtop convertible more?
Definitely the one-touch is a little easier, but I like this.
Yeah.
Less complexity.
Plus you could actually get to the engine on this one, unlike the hardtop, which is kind of cool.
It does use a lot of your trunk though.
It eats up the whole trunk. Yeah. That's a pretty big problem.
I think objectively it's a great car, especially for some of the prices that these are starting to creep toward, where we're seeing some even under $60,000, some in the $50,000 range, and it's so much car for that amount of money. It's also a reasonably easy car to live with in that you can take this to your Chevy dealer that's right down the road, get it serviced. It does sound good. It handles incredibly well. The steering is good. It's just a good car, but, and it's just a point of preference, I think Tommy and I like some of the older Vettes more. I know you would love to get a C7 in particular.
I would, yeah. I really love that kind of long hood silhouette. But I'm starting to kind of fall for the CA, especially the kind of the performance that this car offers around turns is really unbelievable. The rate at which this car can take a back road, or even, we haven't done this yet, but I'd like to try a track day in this car. It's very approachable without being scary, right? You're never really worried about it swapping ends. You might just get a hint of understeer if you're really approaching the limit. But it's incredible what this car can do on the limit.
But don't you kind of want a Corvette to be a little scary?
A little bit.
Maybe just a little bit?
And that's what this car is missing, is I was, talking about how the Europeans don't give this car the time of day. It's almost gone just a little bit too far in that realm where it is very quiet on the inside and very refined, and the interior is very good, and it sounds like silly things to be complaining about, but it is missing some of that kind of raw unhingedness.
I'll tell you what it's missing for me. There's that, there's the manual transmission.
Okay.
There is, to your point, the old school push rod, loud V8, lope and rumble, and the silhouette, the long hood, and the seating position right near the rear wheels. Those to me scream Corvette, and I kind of miss it.
So the CA Corvette on the standard car comes in really three trims. There's the 1LT, the 2LT, and the 3LT. This is the top trim 3LT, which gives you the more upgraded, I believe they're called the GT2 seats. These seats are actually quite phenomenal. It's been one of the biggest surprises. That stain there, I promise you no one has had okay. Very zooming right in on the stain. This car gets lived with and eaten in and spilled in a little bit, so it's got some wear on it now, but still, these upper trim GT seats are very, very good, and they're actually really comfortable, even for longer trips. You can easily go 3-4 hours in here without being uncomfortable. It's also very, very quiet, which has its pros and its cons. I am just noticing, however, that our check engine light has gone off.
Oh.
The car has fixed itself. Right, and that's a big concern a lot of people have about buying a used car like this. But look, these cars have been around for 5 years now, and there are some problems that people have noticed. For example, like these early cars have a plastic transmission pan, which can lead to leaking. And then there have been certain cases of dual clutch failures on the early cars, but it seems to be a really small amount, and for the most part, they've been really reliable, and part of that is they haven't really messed with that engine formula. Right, I know it's a new kind of generation of small block in this car, the LT2, but it still is a very basic, naturally aspirated pushrod V8.
Yeah, so they've kept some of those elements. It feels like a much more refined and sophisticated car, which is good in a way, but I do kind of like the old school flavor of pushrod V8. This feels much more modern. Again, not in a bad way, and partly too just because of the transmission.
Yeah, the dual clutch is so fast and it's all automatic. You're right.
Yeah, it objectively works really well, but I do miss rolling gears. The C8 Corvette also famously uses this line of switches for the climate controls, which have been slightly controversial, and admittedly, initially it can be a little difficult to tell which side is driver, which side is passenger. Once you know that the bottom is for the passenger side, the top is for the driver's side. So it's not necessarily that difficult, and I actually think this is kind of a cool design feature of the C8 Corvette, but for upcoming Corvettes, they've changed up the layout to make it a little bit more standard and easy to understand.
This is something that we've learned over the last few months of ownership. Listen, the car is low, okay? It's a sports car. Probably not news here, but it's also not news that you have to be rather older to buy a Corvette because you have to have rather a lot of money, even though they're quote unquote getting affordable. But even still, getting in and out of a C8 is a little bit of a challenge, and that's because the seats are canted pretty far back, kind of by this B pillar here. So I would say if realistically you're older than 65, it's not going to be a graceful car to get in and out of. And I understand why older guys tend to sell some of their Corvettes because it is an extremely low experience. And I'm not making fun of anybody, but if you've got like bad knees or a bad hip, this car would be a problem to live with on a daily basis. Now, I want to talk about the speed of this car, right? So 495 horsepower on this particular Corvette, which is one of the lowest power Corvettes available now, right? Because you got the E-Ray at 655, you got the insane Z06, you've got the ZR1, and now there's another Corvette on top of the ZR1. Yeah, the ZR1X, which combines the electric motor from the E-Ray plus a little bit of extra power added to that to the ZR1's powertrain for 1,250 horsepower. It's crazy to think that 500 is where you start. And the thing I want to say about that is after kind of living with this car a little and playing within the canyons, no part of me has thought, oh, I kind of wish this car had more power. I mean, in a straight line, it doesn't give you tunnel vision. Like, it's pretty fast. It pushes you back nicely in the seat, but it's not like, oh my God, I need to go take a chill pill afterwards. But it's plenty fast enough for any real world situation. It's a semi-reasonable amount of power that you can actually use on the street without immediately having your license revoked. It's even on the cusp of too much for you to do that. So I agree. I think this is actually a healthy power output. So one of the things about this Corvette that I think they could have gotten a little bit bolder with is the exhaust, especially coming out of the C7. You think a little more Mustang exhaust, a little less what this is? Well, so here's the thing. You can get the C8 Corvette with the standard exhaust, makes 490 horsepower, or the active exhaust, which has broken in this car apparently, makes 495 horsepower, but I just wish I had a little bit more growl. I'll let you make that judgment. Let's hear it, because I actually think this car sounds pretty good. All right, ready, Case? Let's do. Oh, Tommy, it's not exactly silent. But, well, okay, that's sport. Let me go to the track, see if this active exhaust is still working. No, you're right. It's not silent, and it actually sounds really good from the back, but especially from the inside, you don't get any of that kind of lope, that kind of uneven 6.2 firing order that you felt in the C7. I'm not actually sure it needs to be louder. I think we might have to leave before the cops come. Okay.
It sounds like it has asthma.
Asthma?
That's Mary's
Larry,
impression.
I just called you Larry. Mary prefers the sound of the leaf.
Silent.
No. Remember the sound of the leaf?
Tick, 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 tick. Beep, boop.
Beep.
Beep, boop, boop.
The other thing which I want to talk about is kind of the livability of this car. Other than it being a little tricky to get in and out of because it's so low, it is a really easily daily drivable car, just as much as other Corvette generations, if not more so because of that additional space. And it's not incredibly uncomfortable. I don't feel like this car, the way it's spec'd, beats you up that much. It's fine. Yeah, I think it's a decent all-around car, so long as you only need 2 seats and a small amount of storage. Now the question is, Case, and this is kind of where we bring in back that conversation of the European competition, is would you get a 4-year-old Corvette like this car, let's say it's worth 65 grand.
Right.
We paid 70, we paid a little too much for it. It's probably worth 65. Or would you spend another 20 or 30 grand more and get the same era 911?
It's a tough call. I like both cars a lot. I am definitely a Corvette fan. I especially love V8s. It's not the question you asked, but I think the car I would get would be a C6 Z06 because that's got that very old school, very loud and brash, big displacement pushrod V8. Not that those aren't things that this has to some extent, but that C6 Z06 is maybe my top Corvette. But between this and a 911, there's a part of me that feels like this car trying to do the European thing, I'd almost rather just have, in that case, the European thing.
Sure. The
benchmark of that type of car. So this isn't my go-to Corvette. If it was between this and a 911, even though I love Corvettes, I might go 911.
Okay, fair enough. I would go for this car. I just think even on the used market, it's so much value and performance. And as much as I was kind of complaining about the exhaust in this car not being very spectacular on the inside, it sounds a lot better than any modern era 911. I know people go crazy for that flat 6-whale. It sounds great in the GT3 and RS, but in the standard cars, it's pretty muted and kind of sounds at low speeds like a sewing machine. This car still has some life to it. I like that about it. I like that you've got the practicality, the 2 trunks, which a 911 doesn't offer. And I have to say, I really like this interior. It's maybe not as high quality in the fit and finish as a 911, but the overall design with this line of buttons and the very cab forward look, I just think looks really cool.
Tommy, if you buy a sports car based off of the quantity of trunks,
What? It's true!
It's a little bit of an issue.
It's an important aspect that big macho men don't talk about, but it is important, so.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm going with it. I'm sticking with it.
Bring less things.
Okay, all right. Now listen, Keith, I was not really into C8 Corvettes until owning this car for a few months, but I think what turned me around is that this car still is, in essence, what the Corvette has always been, which is a good value for the insane amount of performance it delivers.
It's a huge performance bargain. I respect it for that. It's not my personal favorite generation of Corvette, but for the performance testing that we do, for the videos that we shoot, this is a fantastic car to have around because it's just the perfect benchmark.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. But folks, let us know what you think in the comments section below. 3 months in, we'll let you know what's going on with that check engine light. And as always, it's been Tommy.
In case.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Hell yeah, brother. You're not watching the Cletus McFarlane YouTube channel. Much cooler if you were, though.
Yeah. The previous Corvette was, of course, a big departure. We got this. For the next, to just remember, this bond.
Just get out, Case. Just walk in.
I quit.
This is something.
It was a battle, a hard-fought battle that I won.
Nice, 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 nice.
We got there eventually.